राइट होगा। इस जिले में लोगों को इकबाल है कि कोई भी गड़बड़ी करेगा तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कलेक्टर साहब उसको बंद कर देंगे, अगर मैं छोड़ूंगा तो आप ही का इकबाल खराब होगा। तो ही डिडंट से एनीथिंग। फिर मैंने उनको एक सुझाव दिया। आई टोल्ड हिम, सर अगर आप उनसे बात कर लें और उनसे कह दें कि साहब ये क्यों निकाल रहे हैं फ्यूनरल प्रोसीजर, सरकार आप ही की है, बवाल होगा तो आप ही का होगा। आप उनसे कह दीजिए अगर फ्यूनरल प्रोसीजर ना निकाले तो मुझे पर्सनली मेरी दुश्मनी नहीं है, मैं उनको छोड़ दूंगा। अगले दिन सुबह मेरे पास फोन आया, उसने कहा ठीक है मैं फ्यूनरल प्रोसीजर नहीं निकालूंगा, उसको छोड़ दिया मैंने। समस्या का समाधान हो गया। 2 महीने बाद चीफ मिनिस्टर ने, जिनकी अध्यक्ष को मैंने बंद किया था, ही अवॉर्डेड मी एज वन ऑफ द फाइनेस्ट कलेक्टर्स इन दी स्टेट। वहां मेरा ट्रांसफर हुआ, वहां मुझे अवार्ड मिला, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ना। दी पॉइंट दैट आई एम ट्राइंग टू ड्राइव होम हियर इज कि रिजल्ट्स पे तो मेरा कोई नियंत्रण है ही नहीं, बट योर एक्शंस विल डिटरमिन योर लीडरशिप क्वालिटीज। Now, what are these leadership qualities that I am talking about? Once you evolve as an individual, then you have to focus on a few others. Number one, you have to trust people. Much of the problem of a leader comes when he stops trusting people around, and that's one of the biggest issues. I remember when I was Secretary Government of India here, I was here for 4 years, Secretary, and except the first 3 months as Coal Secretary, time permitting, I'll talk about that also. First 3 months, I left my office at 6 o'clock and no one believed it. How does Secretary Government of India, because all of my colleagues were sitting here till 8 o'clock. Example how I trusted people. When I was late in my career, after say about 34 years of service, when I was posted as Secretary Coal, I did not know much about coal sector, but I had read about it in the newspapers. So I rang up a friend of mine, यार ये कोल सेक्टर कैसा है, मेरी पोस्टिंग हो गई। बोला हाँ यार कंग्रेचुलेशंस। मैंने कहा ये तो बताओ कोल सेक्टर में है क्या। बोले गैंग्स ऑफ वासेपुर देखी है क्या। हो गया जवाब। Sometimes the question answers your question. So I understood what coal sector was. I remember when I walked into the office of the coal secretary, it was like walking into a graveyard because CBI was after officers. आप लोगों ने सुना होगा कोल स्कैम्स जो हुए थे, उसके बाद ही मेरी पोस्टिंग हुई थी। व्यवस्था को ठीक करने के लिए की गई थी मेरी पोस्टिंग। सब CBI was after officers, after files. No officer wanted to take a decision on the file. There are at least 4 chapters in my book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant. If you find an opportunity, do read it. You'll get the atmosphere of that office and you'll understand. So how do I start? First, now this is also very important if you want to become a leader. If a leader ceases to be an optimist, you can't convey that optimism to others. Now, how do you become an optimist? When I came to the office Coal, I was also pretty, apprehensive. ये क्या कहाँ फंस गए? But then I came to this conclusion that the situation was so bad that it cannot become worse. इतनी स्थिति खराब है कि और नहीं खराब हो सकती। अब जो भी होगा अच्छा ही होगा, and I can take credit for it. Now, this is how I was looking at you can look at the negative situation the way you want to. If you're an optimist, you'll always find a positive part of negative thing. You give me any situation, I'll tell you what are the positives of it. And then you start building on those positives. I remember one joint secretary came to me with a file, and in coal ministry, files were very sensitive. He put the file before me, I signed it. He said, sir, आपने पढ़ी नहीं फाइल। मैंने कहा तिहाड़ जेल में अकेले थोड़ी ना जाऊंगा, तुम भी साथ चलोगे। So he got this message that he has to be careful when he examines the file. He still quotes that to me. Sir, उस दिन के बाद से तो मैं हर full stop, comma सब देखता था कि ठीक से आपके पास फाइल है। But we established a trust. And trust का ये था वाला positive energy इतनी थी कि within 2 years we sorted all the coal problems, and from extreme shortage of coal we became surplus in coal, and we were toying with the idea of exporting coal to Bangladesh. There is a chapter in my book, The Coal Story, which talks about how this turnabout came around, and that's probably is an example of how leaders should evolve. And first is trust, the second is delegation. Normally everyone wants to keep everything with himself. So if you don't trust people, you will not delegate. It is only after trust. In fact, delegation is a manifestation of your trust in those individuals. So you trust them, you delegate. Why delegate? Because delegation gives a sense of responsibility to those people. My understanding was anyone who's put in as an IS officer 24, 25 years is a responsible officer. He घास काट के तो आया नहीं, He's done some good work in his time, and that's why he's joint secretary in the government. So I used to delegate. I delegated to them, and they responded very well. I was fortunate to have an absolutely amazing. Right through my book, I talk about the teams. You know, God has been kind to me. I got all the credit for whatever I did, but the real groundwork was done by these people. I trusted them, and then I used to appreciate their work. That's very, very important. We don't sufficiently appreciate the good works of our subordinates, of our colleagues. Imagine if someone pats you on the back in front of 100 people and says, इनकी वजह से सब काम हुआ है, तो कितना आपकी छाती चौड़ी हो जाएगी. I'll give you an example because I'm running out of time. I would rather respond to your question than speak because there's so much that one can talk about. But this example I must tell you. When I was posted as Secretary Horticulture in 2003 in Lucknow, and one fine day I got a written order from a very corrupt minister. My minister was very corrupt. He asked me to suspend a deputy director. Now, mind you, the minister was authorized to suspend this officer. He was not doing anything, so to say, legally wrong. But he did not give any reason for suspending this officer. No reason given. So I rang him up. I said, sir, आपने इसको हिंदी में निलंबित कहते हैं, निलंबित करने को कहा है, इसका कोई कारण नहीं दिया. बोले मुझसे मिलने नहीं आया. मैंने सर ये तो बड़ी छोटी सी बात है, मैं अभी फोन करता हूँ, आपसे मिलने आ जाएगा. मैंने इस अधिकारी के बारे में मालूम किया तो मालूम हुआ कि बड़ा ऑनेस्ट है, एफिशिएंट है, बड़ा बढ़िया अफसर है. तो मैंने उसको फोन मिलाया, यार तुम मिलने क्यों नहीं गए मंत्री से? मंत्री बड़े नाराज हैं, तुम्हें सस्पेंड करने को कह रहे हैं. अब उसका जवाब सुनिए आप. He says, सर मैं उनसे कई बार मिला हूं, लेकिन जैसे वो मिलना चाह रहे हैं मैं नहीं मिल पा रहा. Now this corrupt minister wanted money from him, and he said, ना तो सर मेरे पास पैसा है देने को, ना मैं दे सकता हूं. So then I had this dilemma. How do I protect this officer? Now, I told you, unless you protect your officers, you will never become a leader. If those working with you have not committed any wrong, then it should be your duty to protect them. It was my duty to protect them. But how do I do that? Because he was legally correct. No, there was a provision in UP government that if I disagreed with the minister, I could route the file to the chief secretary. So I spoke to the chief secretary, a very fine officer. I told him, sir, पूरा background बताया. Then he said, file मुझे भेज दो. Now, I'm not saying, again, I had no control over results, but I was trying my best to protect this officer. So I wrote a strong note why he should not be suspended, and I sent it to the chief secretary. Now, this minister did not speak to the chief secretary. He went and spoke to the chief minister. I don't know what happened between them. I was transferred out. So when I was transferred out, the chief secretary was very upset. He called me, यार देखो तुम उसको बचाने के चक्कर में तुम्हें ट्रांसफर कर दिया. हमने सर क्या फर्क पड़ता है? That's when I use this phrase, sir, transfer is like death, it is inevitable. Why worry about things over which I have no control? Let it happen. And in any case, I believe in Hindu philosophy. I'll be born again. You'll post me somewhere, na? I'll go there and do my job. So he started smiling. So I was posted to an organization, and this is the story. This is another full chapter in my book. I was posted to as managing director of State Financial Corporation. Now, this financial corporation had been making losses for past 7 years. My job was to wind it up. So when I walked into this wonderful building, those of you from Lucknow would know it's a pickup building in Gomti Nagar. When I walked into that building, I felt as I was walking into a graveyard because everyone knew that I had come to wind up this organization and many of whom would lose their jobs. I was also very worried. And that is, I wanted to get out of it. So again, in one of those sleepless nights on how to do things here, I discovered what we can. Now, I'm not going into the technical details. I found a solution to it. I discussed it with all the officers. Now, that chapter, if you read, is now a case study in some of the management schools on how to motivate people under you who are totally demotivated. So what I did was, I spoke to all 300 officers at the headquarters, and I explained to them what I wanted to do. But before that, I told them that you all know that you're going to die in next 6 months. The organization will be wind up, you lose your jobs. But I have an offer to make. I am going to discuss a suggestion with you. You can live with me for next 6 months. And if you live with me for next 6 months, you might be alive after 6 months. If you want, you have other choice, you can die right now also. So then I explained the idea to them, and they all agreed, sir, ye to bada acha idea. Now in India, there's no dearth of ideas. But for an idea to fructify and sustain, it has to be politically acceptable, socially desirable, technologically feasible, financially viable, administratively doable, and judicially tenable. Now, if this idea had to be implemented. And in implementing, I had to do a couple of unethical things. I discussed that in my book because now I consider it ethical, that it was not. So I rang up Chairman MD Sidbi, who used to give money to financial organization, who in turn gave money to others. So I asked him, we owed him 250 crores, out of which the principal was only 80 crores and interest was 170 crores. So when I rang him up, I asked him, if I pay you 80 crores, can you write off 170 crores? He said, how can I do that? So I had done my homework. I told him, in the same manner as you've done it for 15 private sector entities, where you've written off interest and settled just for principal. It is called one-time settlement. Said, नहीं, आपको कैसे कर देंगे? मुझे याद है मैंने उनसे हिंदी में कहा, क्यों भाई हमें क्या कांटे लगे हैं? So he didn't understand that very clearly. Then I made a very unethical statement. I told him, देखिए ऐसा है कि if you don't do to me what you've done to others, then I have no option but to write to CBI, where I don't know whether you're aware, I was early in the police. I have 2 of my batchmates as joint directors there. I'm going to write to him and tell them that you have written off interest for private sector, public sector, you are saying no to interest. He suddenly changed his mind. He said, okay, I'll tell you tomorrow. He rang me up, he said, I'll let off your interest. Now, it was unethical. I was virtually threatening him. But I was doing that in the interest of the organization, not in my personal interest. So I got that money from finance, some money, paid it back. But the other important part was, and which is very important in terms of leadership, was I had to recover the amount from the defaulters. So I called the most corrupt general manager for a cup of tea. चाय पे चर्चा नई चीज नहीं है, पहले हम उसे ओवर अ कप ऑफ टी कहते थे, आजकल चाय पे चर्चा कहलाता है. So हमने उसको बुलाया and I asked him, यार most corrupt. Why did I call the most corrupt officer? Because by then I had discovered that all corrupt people are very efficient. Otherwise they will be behind the bars. Only thing is that their efficiency is directed in a different manner. So I called him and had a chat with him and told him, यार इस संस्था में अब कुछ बचा तो है नहीं, तुम चूसोगे क्या? तो एकदम, no matter how dishonest you are, never accept to be dishonest. But I told him, बीती ताई बिसार दे आके की सुध ले, आप मेरे साथ काम कीजिए. I want to improve this organization. I want to recover. हाँ सर, बिल्कुल करेंगे. Again, to cut a long story short, the long story is there in my book. He worked very hard. Recovery improved, and within 1 year, the organization which was making loss over 7 years became profitable. It was a magical turnaround. It's a case study. Now, when it became profitable, somebody else wanted to come in my place because of Malai Makhan mil na raha tha. I was transferred out. It didn't really matter to me. But I kept track of this officer, this most corrupt officer. And people used to tell me, sir, ये तो बिल्कुल परिवर्तित हो गया है. ये ना पैसे लेता है, ना देता है, लगा रहता है काम. तो मैंने उसको एक दिन बुलाया चाय पे अपने घर पे और उससे पूछा, यार तुम्हारी लोग बड़ी तारीफ करते हैं, तुम्हारा हृदय परिवर्तन कैसे हुआ? बोला, सर जब आप 300 लोगों के सामने मेरी पीठ थपथपा के कहते थे कि संस्था में जो सुधार हो रहा है इसकी वजह से हो रहा है, सर मेरी छाती इतनी चौड़ी हो जाती थी. And the kick that I used to get, I never got it before. No, why am I narrating this to you? You know, this kick, this appreciation can be a game changer. As if you want to become a good leader, you have to start appreciating others. हम लोग पब्लिकली डांटते हैं लोगों को. आप पब्लिकली कभी ना डांटिए. मैं भी बहुत नाराज होता था लोगों से, लेकिन मैं सब प्राइवेट, या तो फोन पे डांटता था या कमरे में बुला के डांटता. किसी के सामने नहीं. किसी के सामने किसी की इज्जत ना होता. अकेले में जो कहना है समझाइए, कहिए, बट पब्लिकली सिर्फ तारीफ कीजिए. दिस गुरु मंत्र है लीडरशिप का. Appreciate in public and deprecate in private and criticize in private and shout in private. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको किसी को डांटना नहीं है, डांटना है, लेकिन अकेले में डांटिए. But appreciate. So if you trust, if you delegate, if you appreciate, if you build systems, you can become a leader. Now I can go on and on. I have spoken for about 45 minutes or more. You know, I'm not a professional speaker, so I also get tired. So I'll take a break. In the meanwhile, I'll try and take your questions and try and answer them, whatever questions you have. But before I close, I think many people have written the name of my book here. The book that I'm quoting most is from Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant. I would love to have your comments on the book. I'm typing down my email ID, and I will request the organizers also to convey the name of the book as well as my email ID. I would love to have your comments on my book.
Of
You
course, sir.
can
Of
remain in
course.
touch with me, because this dialogue is not one-time dialogue. I'm sure after the discussion that we've had, you will have a number of questions in your mind. Please come up with those questions. I don't have answers to your questions, but probably I'll be able to throw light on the basis of little experience that I've had. So that's what it is. But again, before I conclude, you might think that I'm always upbeat. It's not so. There were a number of occasions where absolutely down and out. I remember जब वो मैंने आपको दृष्टांत दिया था, when the minister wanted to suspend an honest and efficient deputy director, I felt very helpless, and I wrote when you feel helpless, तो आपके अंदर का कवि जागृत हो जाता है. तो मेरे अंदर का कवि जागृत हुआ, तो मैंने ये पंक्तियां लिख डाली. संशय नहीं मन में तेरी सृष्टि में या तुझमें, तू ही तू मेरे मन में समाया, सब कुछ मैंने तुझसे है पाया. फिर भी स्तब्ध हूं, व्याकुल हूं, अशांत हूं, शायद अनजान हूं. क्या यही जीवन है? जो पापी है, दुराचारी है, क्यों जीत रहा निरंतर? स्पष्ट करो, अभिव्यक्त करो, कुछ तो करो मेरे राम. तो ये मेरी वेदना मैंने राम की झोली में डाल दी. But if you're an optimist, the response will come to you quickly. It came to me quickly, very quickly. And those are the inspiring lines which I've used in my book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant. समय रुका नहीं, हम क्यों ठहर गए? समय रुका नहीं, हम क्यों ठहर गए? अभी तो हम चले भी नहीं, फिर क्यों थक गए? उठो पथिक मत भ्रमित हो, धूमिल अंधियारे में, श्रेष्ठ वही जो घिरा नहीं हो क्षणिक निराशा में. जागो जगाओ, मन मत बहलाओ, एक मसीहा तुम भी बन जाओ. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would request the participants to, if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Anil sir. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. You are audible, please.
Anil sir, this is Swapnil from Maharashtra, and it has been a great pleasure for us to listen to you, and whatever experiences we had in your personal life. Actually, your life is just like a role model for others. We can learn a lot through your journey. My question is, really, the things you have faced in your life, we are facing right now. I mean, many scholars, many people, they used to face this kind of problems in day-to-day life. But the confidence we have gathered and the way you tackle all the things, which are the things which gives you the strength to tackle it, and which are the things which we have to cover to face these kind of problems?
Okay, I think first and foremost, can I request others to keep their mics on mute because there is a lot of sound coming? Okay, thank you. See, first, you have to start believing, and it won't happen overnight, that you have actually no control over consequences. Because it is the fear of consequences that make you tentative. Once you have that clarity in your mind, half the problem goes away, because you then focus on what you can do. And the question that you have to ask yourself, whether you did the best that you could. That's the fundamental question, because you in any case can't do beyond it. That will give you enormous amount of comfort if you focus totally on what you can rather than what you can't, or what would be the consequence. Most of our problems are in the apprehension of the consequence. And let me tell you, I'm doing that when I'm more than 62 years of age. It didn't happen to me overnight. I was also very apprehensive of the consequences of what I did, but you learn. Secondly, you have to equip yourself to be able to rationally analyze any situation, to be not be prejudiced, to be doing the best of your own interest. Even now, I don't treat myself perfect in that regard. I do commit mistakes even now. Of course, the number of mistakes has come down, but you learn over a period of time. It doesn't, as I keep saying, it doesn't happen overnight. So, for example, whether the first reaction that you have to any situation is a negative one or a positive one is something which you have to cultivate. And in the book that I mentioned about the monk who sold this Ferrari, he talks about a 21-day rule, meaning thereby, if you consciously do something for repeatedly for 21 days, on 22nd day, you will start doing it subconsciously. But those 21 days will be difficult. So for example, if a negative thought comes to you when you meet people, there will be a struggle within yourself because you are trying to think positively, whereas you have naturally grown as a negative person. It takes time, but it can be done. So for example, I'll give you a very crude example that we all should be drinking 10 glasses of water a day. Now, if you put an alarm every hour and start drinking water every hour for 21 days, on 22nd day onwards, you will not require an alarm. Your body will then start demanding that water. Same is the case with habits that you develop. So if you repeat a particular thing, you get into a good or a bad habit, whatever the case may
be. In addition to this, sir, I had one query. Hello?
Yes.
For many times we require some habit for a few months only. So then how we can remove the habit after it is incorporated?
So I'll give you some examples of how do you change habit. So when I was preparing for my civil service, I had taken law as my paper. So there were a number of case studies that I had to learn. And the best time to learn is to get up early in the morning and learn. It's a very well-known fact. I was a late riser. Now, how do I do that? So you associate what you want to do with something what you like. Now, I was very fond of cricket. In those days, we did not have television, but we used to listen to commentary. And India was traveling to Australia for test matches. Those who know cricket and those who know Australia, the test matches begin at 5:30 in the morning. And there were 5 test matches, and each test match was 5 days. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning to listen to the commentary, which I loved so much. And by the 26th day, I started waking up early in the morning. So it's how you associate. I jokingly tell the youngsters that if you have a girlfriend who wakes up early in the morning, request her to send you a WhatsApp message. You look forward to that WhatsApp message and wake up early in the morning and respond. So you can find your own way of changing your habits. It has to be understood. Your problem has to be understood, and then a suggestion can be given. There's a question here by Mugda, who says, how to tackle frustration? No, you must look at the cause of frustration. Why are you getting frustrated? There must be some reason. And reason could be that you are trying to do something, you are unable to do it. Then you go to the next step and try and understand what is the reason you are unable to do it. Frustration is an outcome of an action. You have to look at the action. I can't generally answer this, but if you have a specific situation of frustration, then you can understand. You have to go into the why of it, and then you will reach a situation where you start answering the why, and you gradually go up and the frustration goes. You might discover that you are trying to do something which cannot be done, but you are unnecessarily struggling. So Mugda says she's in sports. Now, success in sports is determined by a number of factors: your physiology, your mental character, your practice. You have to look at what is the reason. You are getting frustrated by the result, not by the reason of it. You must understand the reason, and for that you have to talk to a coach or somebody and discuss with him that. Now there's another question by Anil Reddy: how to get motivated always without distraction? Understand what the distraction is. Develop a positive distraction against it. Now, some people will say listening to cricket commentary would have been a distraction. For me, that was an attraction to develop a different habit. It can be done. You have to look at a positive habit which can overcome a negative habit. You can't just leave a habit. So some people who give up smoking go into doing something else so that they give up smoking. For each bad habit or bad experience, you have to create an alternative which you start accepting over a period of time. There you are. Soumya Nigam says it. Your WhatsApp example is so relatable. There is, as I keep saying, there is no such thing as good and bad. It's a question of how you use it. I equate everything with nuclear energy. It can be utilized. It can be, destroyed, misutilized. It's how you do it. As I keep saying, it's totally dependent on you and nobody else. My suggestion is, many of your answers will be found if you read the book, because in the book, I have not given much of theory. I have given practice. There are practical situations which one faces, and how do you get? I'm not saying you do exactly what I did, but that will give you confidence that it can be done because it has been done. So there's no theory. There are a few theoretical chapters, but they are totally based on the experience that I had. So please do find time to read it. I know they're not very voluminous. Both of them are pretty thin books. Small anecdotes. I'm sure you'll love reading them.
Good afternoon, sir. Sangeeta this side.
Good afternoon, Sangeeta.
Sir, the session was obviously very encouraging and motivating. But above all the content and everything, what I liked about the session is your voice and the bilingual thing you used, which actually kept me engaged. And the query I had, sir, is that what are the little changes you would advise us to, practice on daily basis to help us grow or develop?
Okay, start with small things. Don't try and jump onto the Everest. In order to reach the Everest, you have to go step by step. Start doing it. For example, you say, as far as your fluency in speech is concerned, you can actually do a drill, which I suggest to number of people. You can, every morning when you pick up a newspaper, pick up the editorial column and read it aloud in front of a mirror. Read it aloud for months together. You gradually, your diction will improve, your vocabulary will improve, your reading will improve, everything will improve. We don't do that. I did that. My friends used to laugh at me, but it helped me improve my diction. It helped me improve my understanding. It made me much more logical. So this is one small thing. Secondly, if you have a friend circle and if you have some bad habit that you have, tell your friend to point out whenever you do that. Sometimes in speech we use a particular word regularly without meaning to use it, but we use it. The moment your friend starts telling you use it, you'll start becoming conscious, and consciously you'll try and eliminate that word in your vocabulary. So there are many ways in which you can do it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, there is a question by Muhammad Tayyab, and he says, we plan many things, but we lose our focus and become inconsistent. First of all, don't plan too many things. We become very ambitious in our planning. You have to be realistic in your planning. You have to have confidence in yourself. If you plan and don't do it, then you start believing that I just plan, I don't do it. Start with small things. I'll wake up early in the morning. Try and do that. Discipline yourself. I forgot to mention this word. You have to discipline yourself. And discipline can be any form. I write a page of diary every day. That enabled me to write this book. I started writing in 1981. That's a discipline that I maintain every day. You do physical exercises every day. That's a discipline. You must have a discipline in your life and become disciplined. That will help you. And discipline doesn't come overnight. It will come gradually. You must have small victories in terms of having done what you decided to do. So for example, as I said, waking up early in the morning, take pride in the fact that you decided to wake up early in the morning and you did wake up early in the morning. Take comfort from these small victories. Don't go for huge victories. You say that I'll read a book in next 2 days. That's a plan that you make for yourself. Discipline yourself, find time and read those 2 books or read that book. Feel good about that victory that you have. Don't go in for huge victories. I didn't become an IAS officer by just thinking in terms of becoming. I went for very, very small victories. Even now, post-retirement, God has been very kind to me. But I write 3 articles in different newspapers every week. And I get thrilled when I write an article. I get a kick out of it. So there are small victories. Don't go in for huge victories. Huge victories will come. Try for small victories.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon,
Any
sir.
other questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Purnima.
So thank you. Thank you so much for a really wonderful session, because, I would like to say that, in fact, the aura and your voice gives us the resonation of the kind of, abilities you also have. And thank you for organizing this event. Now, there are 2 things which I want to ask. First, I have already read the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And honestly speaking, the moment I read it, for the next 2 years, everything was like happening. Everything was good. But I would say that there are times wherein, without thinking about the consequence, if I take a step, but then that step, it is being curbed by a number of societal pressures that I would call. And I feel that maybe I don't have the courage at the right time to go by what I feel is right. And I have to just change my path. I have to just be on that road not taken for that one moment. And that's my first thing. Second, which I feel is that when you were quoting about the incident of your friend who was unable to sleep because of what was happening with the nation. So yes, a lot of things which are not related to us, we cannot control. But when it comes to one's own self, in order to reach to that level that we can detach ourselves from the factors that are creating obstacles in our small victories, what should we be looking for?
Okay, let me give you an example from my own career on this. And you've raised very pertinent points. These are very practical in nature because they're not easy solutions. Life itself is not easy. Life is very tough and tougher for many other people. So how do I go about it? So many of my colleagues ask me that I can't do it because of political interference, because this, that. Everyone talks about politics and others. So I ask him a different question. I ask him, has any politician asked you to come late to the office? He said, no. I said, has any politician asked you to keep your office dirty? He said, no. Has any politician asked you to keep sitting on all the files that you have and don't clear them expeditiously? And I can go on and on. You will, as you analyze yourself, you will realize that almost 80-90% things others are not involved at all. You have to do it yourself. Now, if you do that, Purnima, you will gauge courage and your domain will expand. So, for example, when during my entire career, I didn't ask for a single favor from any politician. But when there was a crisis, they called me. So, coal crisis, they called me. Investment crisis, they called me. Now, your strength is derived of what you do. And it won't happen overnight. And you have to have those small victories in strength. And this inspiration should come to you from such people as you look around, that in the same set of circumstances, some people become reference points, others are ignored. How is it so? Because they have evolved in a manner, as I use the word, khudi ko kar buland hona. Ye khudi ek din mein nahi buland hoti. Ye gradually banti hai. That personality of his then carries that aura that he starts to be reckoned with. That's what you got to do. And it's not a very easy. It comes step by step, small step by step. Even at your age, you will find people that who are totally useless, and there are others in the same set of circumstances are people who are reckoned with. Try and understand what exactly did they do to become people to be reckoned with. That's where your lessons come from. I mean, the reason of writing this book or these two books was basically to demonstrate that it can be done. It may vary from individual to individual, but having said what I have said, I totally agree with you. It's not easy. And I must confess that as a woman or as a girl, it's even worse in this society. But then there are many women, many girls who've done wonderfully in these set of circumstances. Let's try and understand how did they do that. In my book, Ethical Dilemmas of a Civil Servant, I've quoted more than 50 officers just to illustrate that there are people who've done well despite following an honest path. Because the general feeling is that the honest people always suffer. Not so. Yes, they do suffer. But dishonest people also suffer. 2 chief secretaries of state of UP were sent to prison. They also suffer. But we tend to look at the bad things of the good things and the good things of the bad things. We have to look at it. But I totally agree with you. It's not an easy job. But, you know, not following the right path is also not very easy.
Correct.
But Purnima, I would look forward to your comments on the book, because I'm sure you're going to find many of the answers that you raised in that book.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Sumedh Kulkarni.
Yes, Sumedh.
It was a very wonderful session. Just a quick one. Now that you've mentioned about ethical dilemma of a civil servant, I'm sure you've watched the movie Shool, where Manoj Bajpayee plays a police officer, and I'm sure you're also a police officer. Have you ever been in a dilemma where you thought that you should use your revolver?
No, I was not a police officer, but I use not the physical revolver. There are other types of revolvers also which you use, where you shoot down people, not literally and otherwise, and I've done that. Where my conscience felt that needs to be done, I did it. I didn't shoot human beings, but I shot them down otherwise. So it's not If it is required and under law it has to be done, it has to be done. Not the Shul way, because I think films do not project the life as it exists. They tend to glamorize and exaggerate things. Life is not a film or an exaggeration as it's predicted in the films. Unfortunately, that's what we try to understand. That's how we understand how governance happens. It doesn't happen that way. Governance is much more realistic, much more grounded as compared to heroes. I would not advise anybody to follow what was done by Manoj Bajpayee in Shul. So there are no blacks and whites. Normally in movies, there are all blacks and whites. There are a huge amount of gray area in your functioning. That's where your moral judgment comes in. So I'm not very sure whether Shul would be the right example, or there was another movie, Dabangg, where he keeps on beating everybody. It doesn't work that way.
No, I did not mean to actually take it literally in terms of actually shooting up. The point I was trying to make was about the dilemma in terms of how do you really counter those people, or how do you punish, or find a solution to those people where I'm sure you must have gone through a lot of frustrations in terms of.
Sumedh,
yes,
Sumedh, I would suggest you read the book. You will find number of such situations where without using a revolver, I use the revolver. What is the objective of a revolver? To correct a situation,
Right.
How do you correct? And there are many ways of correcting. You don't have to necessarily shoot down somebody. There is an incident in my book, I tell you, wherein when I was district magistrate, there was this journalist who used to blackmail officers. So I put him behind the bars. And then when he got released on bail, he started writing. He was after me. He was writing me all sorts of things. Inquiries were initiated. He did all that. Okay. Then I came to Lucknow and I became special secretary to the chief minister and director information public relations. Now his file, because they have a system of accreditation for release of advertisement, his newspaper's file came to me for accreditation. Okay. I approved it. Now I remember distinctly, I was sitting in my room and this guy came to meet me. He crawled up to me and just held my feet. Now I'm not saying that was a solution to it. I didn't do it for that also. I did what I thought was right. And over a period of time, you develop a reputation where people want you for a person who does right.